Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's hot and tasty new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick XL. And my goodness, the news has been nonstop. Last of Us 2, the long awaited potential game of the year for many, launched at midnight on the East Coast last night. July's Microsoft event is apparently being called the mic drop moment of gaming, and we have so much to talk about. But of course, before we get into the amazing topics, we're going to get into the outstanding panel that makes up that will fill up your 2 hours of your Friday morning in the best way possible. So let's get into, of course, one of the main panel members, someone that was recently just added. You know him as our raspiest voice in gaming. He is one of our top Gears players that he will chainsaw you in half and laugh in your face. While doing it, please welcome to the show, Crispy Bomb.
Good morning, everybody. What is up? We got a plate full of goodness coming at you real soon. Get your coffee ready.
Well, you know what? Thanks for being here, dude. It's going to be a lot of fun. Your mic does sound a little bit low, so let's see if we can raise that up a bit. I don't know if I could do it on my end or your end, but we'll do the mic check in a second. Next up, you know him as one of the most powerful voices in gaming. We've got an echo. Okay, here we go. All right, well, let's get back to the intros. You know him as one of the most powerful voices in gaming. He is someone that many people in this community look up to because of his brutal honesty. He is the king of statues. He is the all-knowing in comic knowledge, and he's one of the leaders of the Iron Lords podcast. Please welcome King David.
Ooh, you switched it up on me, Boom.
How you like that, man?
I like it. I was like, who's he talking about? Good morning, everyone. Can't wait to dig into these topics. Get a fresh cup of tea. Like spot of tea in the morning, people. Spot of tea.
Nothing wrong with a spot of tea, especially if you have a nice crumpet with it. Me personally, I'd rather have a muffin, but you know what? It teaches everybody's own. And continuing, you know him as the sarcastic Brit. I know him as a very good friend. In fact, he is one of the biggest Mass Effect fans I personally know. Please welcome from the other side of the pond, the elusive gamer known as Jamie Moran.
All right, everyone. Funnily enough, I just ate crumpets.
That's my guy.
There you go. Live on the air, confirmed. Hey, Jamie, thanks so much for being here. Super appreciate you taking the time out of your day to hang out with us. This is going to be a lot of fun. And last, and in no way least, I know him as someone that has saved the show more times than I can count on my fingers and toes. I call him Superman. You can call him one of the community's finest. Please welcome Dreadpool.
Good morning. How you guys doing? I've got the bacon. I've got the eggs. I've got the pancakes. I got home fries. I got it all ready here.
And they also got a little salt from me. I'm jealous.
Well, listen, there's no better way to start your Friday morning with a delicious breakfast. And no matter what you eat, you're going to be having not only that, but a side of Breakfast with Boom to fill up 2 hours of your gaming morning. And what better way to start is with, I guess, supposedly some controversy on the side of your bacon and eggs. And, again, normally I write these shows well in advance. And I don't like reading from the phone. I think it's for me, it's very impractical. It's also unprofessional. But unfortunately, something broke literally minutes before the show went live, and I just did not have the time to play. And to be honest with you, I was busy since 6 this morning playing The Last of Us 2. But we'll get into that in a second. Now, obviously, last Thursday, Sony had their conference, and of course, one of the big takeaways from said conference was Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, everyone that knows me or follows me knows that I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, just in general. But what Insomniac did was make me play a game for 60, 70, even 80 plus hours to the point where I felt I needed to platinum that game, and I did. And everything about that game I absolutely loved from start to finish. And we're getting a new Spider-Man for the launch of the PlayStation 5 in the form of a Miles Morales story. Now, if you're not, too keen on who he is obviously a tremendous character in the Spider-Verse. Obviously, they had the movie last year, Into the Spider-Verse, where he was the star. We got to see how he got his powers and how his connection to Peter Parker is almost family-like. But what was interesting in a story that I pulled directly from WCCF Tech, a site that I use a lot for my shows, is reporting that the new standalone game, not DLC, it is a standalone game, is only going to be 5 to 10 hours in length. And I got to be honest with you, I tweeted about it, and I think I was very fair in my assessment, and I will say it again live on the air. That to me is disappointing for a lot of reasons. Now, again, for me, the gamer that I am in open world games, when you say you put 20 hours into it, I'll put 60. I like checking every nook and cranny. I like taking lots of pictures. I like collectibles. I go all out. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me that I enjoy games of a smaller size that much, that I put that much time in, but I do. And I do like looking around every corner and checking out everything. So Miles Morales, for you, maybe 10 hours. For me, it could potentially be 20 or 30. But for the average gamer, man, 5 to 10 hours is a little short. And considering that in this article, they're saying that all of the assets from Spider-Man 1 are being reused. Now, granted, there are going to be some graphical upgrades, and the season has been changed. It's going to be around Christmas time, so there's going to be a winter theme, which I really do like. And of course, the holidays. Who doesn't like the holidays in a video game? But King David, I want to go to you because in the article, and we have heard this, King David, that this game is being, in size and scope and scale, is being compared to Uncharted's Lost Legacy, which was phenomenal, and a game that a side story that I highly recommend you play if you are a fan of Nathan Drake and that series. But that game was small. Also, that game was $39.99. Now, you have a different take on the potential of a $60 Miles Morales story for 5 to 10 hours. What first of all, what are your thoughts on that? And where do you come to this conclusion of Sony raking the players over the coals?
Okay. Well, this is not unheard of. And I don't want people to be upset with actual Sony themselves, right? It's called supply and demand, right? There's a demand for it and you supply it, but there's also practical business sense. You have a new console coming out, and if you don't have super compelling software to push that console, and you're going up against another console that's coming out, which will have their struggles as well, trying to get compelling software to get you to cross that line to purchase. It's very hard to tell somebody, especially now. All right. And I believe that this crisis definitely has a huge impact on decision making that's going over at Sony and as Microsoft as well. But if you were going to put it across the boards, at this point in time, I don't believe that is going to be viable because they need to recoup money. So, in my opinion, I believe that, Sony probably was going to do the fans a service and give you a DLC. It's a DLC, right? Now, if you want to dress it up as, put lipstick on a pig and a skirt and say it is something else, it's not, okay? It's a DLC. Now, is it a standalone DLC? The reason why it's a standalone DLC is because it's behind a paywall. All right. And that paywall is whatever I believe that the PlayStation 5 would be. I believe it's going to be $550, $600. And it's going to be behind that paywall. Now, to get you to go to that paywall and get over that paywall, you're going to have to pay that $60. It's going to be $60. It's going to be $60, $69.99. I believe the pricing structure will actually change for this generation going forward the next generation going forward because of the crisis and because of the financial holes that a lot of these companies found themselves in. They have to recoup this money. So Spider-Man is going to have a great story. All right. The stories, all the DLC that came out for Spider-Man was phenomenal. The stories told was phenomenal.
Yes.
And I believe those was 5 to 10 hours, right? Each story.
Well, you mean the DLC? Yeah,
Yeah, the DLCs.
I believe so. Yes.
All right. So, in seeing that they're 5 to 10 hours, don't you think that this game coming out is going to be 5 to 10 hours? Right. It was a planned DLC basically. It's coming out. You're gonna pay full price for this game, and it's okay. It's okay because I believe it's going to a good cause. Now, your wording when you said that it's coming off of existing assets. Don't panic, people. This stuff has been going on at Microsoft for a second. They take an older game, port it to the X. Let's say it comes from 360. And if it has X enhanced, all the features that the X can do, it will go to that game. So if you take a PlayStation 4 game and it's PlayStation 5 enhanced, all the features that they can fit into that game, it will take advantage of. It will run better than regular Spider-Man. It will look better than regular Spider-Man. It will sound better. You will get a lot of bells and whistles. Now, is it made ground up for the PlayStation 5? No. But does it take advantage of all that the PlayStation 5 has to offer? Yes. And you will be thoroughly pleased. Spider-Man was my game of the year. And I believe that this game is going to be a great holiday season for me because I plan on purchasing it. I plan on delving into it. Like Boom said, if it's 5 to 10 hours, I'm going to make it 20 hours. I'm going to have fun with this game. So, don't be all upset and be afraid of what's going to happen. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more. Yes, it's messed up. It's DLC, but you're going to get it.
You know what has me a little shocked is your thought process, but your theories on Sony using this as a $60, potentially even a $69.99 title, if of course they do raise the prices. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't think they're going to, simply because they understand the financial crisis that many people are dealing with and will continue to deal with for years. You got to understand what happened in this country is unprecedented, and many folks unfortunately lost their jobs, and they may not be getting those jobs back. So I don't know if it would be wise for the gaming companies to try and recoup what they lost on the backs of the people that may not even be able to afford to get their new consoles. It's going to be very interesting. I'm hoping that it does not happen. But you know what? I want to bring in Dreadpool into the conversation because we were talking, obviously before the show went live. But I want to just catch up on a couple of super chats. First of all, Army Veteran, who is an absolute gentleman and a huge supporter of Double Barrel Gaming, he drops a very generous $10 super chat and says this: "What's up, all?" He says, "Yo, Boom, thanks for taking the time last night to answer my questions. You're a true gentleman, King. Let's snatch those knees," in the Sony voice. It's Xbox, baby. And yet, what he's talking about is if you've messaged me on Xbox Live, almost 10 out of 10 times I'm going to answer you back. And if you're asking me a question, I'm going to go out of my way if I don't have the answer. Like this particular one, I went and looked it up and then I answered it because listen, I'm all about this community, and I think that's what more people need to do. We need to be interactive and we need to support one another. And I cannot say this enough, how the support that the community has given me is second to none. But Nightwolf 3186 is a very good and generous friend of the show. He drops a $5 super chat and says this: "Work today, but dropping some love. Have fun, guys. Boom and panel. You never cease to amaze. Love watching the channel grow and get better each day. Well, thanks, dude, for the compliment. But more importantly, thank you for your generosity." And Regulator 951 is here. First of all, welcome to the show, my brother. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says this: "Good morning, Boom and panel. Why does Wilmy Hood have to do my brother David dirty? PS5 is using checkerboard ray tracing," says Digital Foundry. I don't know if Wilmy Hood did you wrong, my brother, but hopefully he did not.
All right. What he did was, and for those guys that don't know, on the last Iron Lords podcast, we have $1,000 tier that's in our Patreon. So when we were making our Patreon, everybody choose whatever they wanted. So I really didn't want to participate in the Patreon, right? So I said, I'm going to make my tiers $1,000 tiers. If they want to hang out with the king, whatever it is, I'm going to place my tiers this way. So I said, I will get a tattoo for $1,000. Or I will also, there's another tier up there for me. I will take that hot chip challenge for $1,000 on camera. I said, nobody's ever going to pay for this stuff. Well, I was antagonizing Squirrely Dan. Squirrely Dan made sure that he put that tier up there, and Wilmy Hood purchased the tier for my tattoo. So on July 2nd of this year, which is my birthday, I will be getting the ILP tattoo, that logo that's inside the back, right here on the left side of my chest.
Yikes.
Yeah, on camera.
Well, I mean, listen, you know what? You're a man of your word, and listen, you're going to do. Oh, speaking of the devil, he has just arrived. Wilmy Hood drops a very generous and outrageous $25 super chat and says, "Wilmy Hood showed his love and respect for the realm."
This guy here, I love you, Wilmy.
He's
I
too
do.
much, man. And LMNOP can't not to be outdone. Who's here almost every show? Thanks for being here, my brother. He drops a very generous $2 super chat. Says, "Good morning, gamers. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, indeed." Now, Dreadpool, we were talking before the show went live, and you and I were going back and forth regarding Spider-Man. Do you agree with King that Sony is actually going to charge their fan base for a $60 game on a title that is already being I guess donned as a glorified expansion for the PlayStation 5, one of which that people are suggesting it was held for the PlayStation 5 just to make it a launch title. Do you think this is Sony's going to charge the $60?
I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay.
And here's why. Back when the whole crisis was going on what is this? Is this an expansion? Is this a standalone? Is this a full-on game? Is it not being is it new assets? I even asked Insomniac directly, what's, is this a like an Unreal Engine? What were they using? Because the response before all this was that they were putting and upgrading everything. So even though they were using the PlayStation 4 assets, they put more work into it to make it a PlayStation 5 game. And my question, are you using Unreal? Because if you're using Unreal 4 and you're going to Unreal 5, that's an easy transition according to, Epic. So, so to me, why would you be charging that much if it's just like a flick of the switch? I mean, how much more are you adding to it that you're going to, charge an extra 20 or even possibly $30 more?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that would be their reasoning, is that they put work into it. And we've seen others that do the same work for high res and maybe a few extra touches for free at other places.
I mean, look, here's the thing. I mean, I see the chat is really going back and forth with this. Some people are saying that the potential $60 price point for a 5 to 10 hour game certainly isn't worth it. Some people are saying, yeah, but the graphics, they're going to be enhanced. It's going to make use of the SSD, the power of the PlayStation 5, which it is going to be a monster system. Let's not get it twisted. It's I'm getting the game day one. Obviously, if there is a collector's edition, I will find a way to get that because I have the first one, which anyone that follows me knows I really enjoy Sony's collector's editions. But Crispy Bomb, I think you have a different point of view on this, and it might be one of disappointment when you hear Miles Morales, which is a standalone, according to Insomniac, a full-on standalone title in the same size and scope of Lost Legacy, and potentially being charged $60. Do you think people are going to be outraged, or are they just going to be like, yeah, take my money?
I think they're going to be like, take my money, because you don't have much to choose from right now. I mean, let's be honest. You got that old car, you put a shiny new coat of paint on it, you say, oh, it's new now. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I just, when I saw 5 to 10 hours, I said, I've played many DLCs that are about that, you know, amount, and usually they're charged between $20 and $40. So if it's $60, it is up to, you know, I mean, shame on Boom, shame on King, because you guys are gonna probably buy it anyway.
Oh, you
Yeah.
gonna tell me to vote for my dollar? Nah, I'm voting for Miles Morales.
So that's the thing, you know, that's why I think people are going to eat it up. You know what I mean? And we have to go and say, well, if you're going to spend the money, they're going to charge it. And they're going to milk. I mean, what is it at? 15 million people have downloaded the game.
Yeah, well,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
the number so far, the last check number for the amount of people that purchased Spider-Man 1 was over 15 million copies sold.
So now you have 15 million people that are already invested in the universe, and let's say you get half of them to download it at $60. You know what I'm saying? That's big money for PlayStation. We all know you got to milk that cow as long as you can, and they're gonna milk it because it's probably their most popular IP of all time now. And you know, it regardless of, you know, the thought process of how great it is or not, that could be debated between, you know, this and that. What it comes down to is they see all the people that purchased it. You're coming out with, I mean, I'm sure it's going to have a little bit of an upgrade. I mean, I would hope, but you know, me being an Xbox gamer, I say, well, I'm getting all the upgrades for nothing, and unless the actual third party dev says, no, I don't want to do it. But other than that, every first party game is going to get an upgrade immediately. So I mean, it's up to you whether you want to purchase or not, but 5 to 10 hours, that's pretty short for a standalone game.
Especially a launch title. I mean, think about that. You bring home your shiny new PlayStation 5, and within the first day, you're done with the game. I would walk away. I'm not going to sit here and lie. As great as the game is going to be, and the fact, that my phone's going off. You hear that? Sorry about that.
but that was Sony calling you. But Boom,
no,
don't they have a ton of back-to-back games that, like, soon as you get home, that you're going to open up your PlayStation, you're going to have 4,000 games to play right off the rip?
Unfortunately, that is the Xbox that you're talking about, my friend.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I hit my head this morning. I do apologize.
You know what? King is always setting it off so early in the show. Let's bring the elusive gamer in. Obviously, I don't know what your what your thought process is on the original Spider-Man. I'm being serious. Well over 60 hours into the game because I really did love it enough to platinum the game. But when you hear Sony is using what people are saying as a glorified DLC as a launch game, and this is from WCCF Tech confirming that it could be 5 to 10 hours. Are you surprised that we could get a $60 Miles Morales game where it's going to be at least half of the length of the original Spider-Man?
Nah. I mean, King's right. Like, Sony likes to upsell stuff. I mean, let's look at The Last of Us, right? The first game. When the remaster was announced, Sony made it available so you could buy the expansion for the remaster separate, and they had different trophies set for it. So it's like people at the time were wondering, like, why should we buy the DLC separate if it's already in the remaster? It's because Sony knows people are going to double dip for the remasters DLC to get double trophies. And you look at this Spider-Man thing and think about it. Spider-Man they already have Manhattan made. They only have to pop in new cutscenes, new character models, and story elements. So it's already there. It already runs on a PlayStation 4, and Sony likes to upsell. And what I hate the term standalone expansions, because then it's not an expansion; it's its own game. It's just a smaller game, and Sony does like to upsell this stuff. You know, look at The Last of Us, and you look at like Infamous. It's the same thing. They do this. They did it with Uncharted. You know, things get listed as DLC, and it's all of a sudden a standalone game. And it's like upselling a game like that, a 5 to 10 hour game, which could clearly run on a PlayStation 4, is just forcing people to upgrade sooner rather than later. Because let's face it, there's a lot of people on PlayStation 4 that would like to play this coming out this year, but it's locked off to the PlayStation 5 for no reason. They haven't said, oh, by the way, this new expansion runs at 60 frames. They haven't said that. They said, oh, there's some snow. Like that's the realism of the situation. And it's just like it's not surprising because Insomniac, great studio, and this is clearly probably a decision by Sony. Or let's lock this off to the new system so we can get more people over. And like people are comparing this on Reset Era. What's the best launch title? Halo Infinite or the Spider-Man DLC? It's like you just said it out loud there. What's better, Halo Infinite or Spider-Man DLC? It's like, come on. It's like locking off DLC like that is just ridiculous in my opinion, and they should allow everyone to play it. But it's Sony again, the upsell stuff, and like this is the company that remastered all their games practically for this generation, making more people buy them, and like they haven't even talked about the backwards compatibility issue for the most part. So it's like, people are just going to be able to play the copy of Spider-Man day one, have it all like, up-resed and, have a shinier version for free. No, the focus point was Sony making people buy a quote-unquote standalone DLC. Like, it's ridiculous in my opinion. And 5 to 10 hours, and if they charge $60 for this, they should charge maximum $30. And even then, it's a bit steep.
Well, you know what? Real quick, to your point, Drunken Ninja, a good friend of the show, he drops a very generous $5 super chat, but what he says is right on point with what Jamie was just talking about. He says the Witcher 3 DLCs were an easy 40 plus hours each at $20 and $10 respectively. Launching next gen with this is whack. And I gotta agree. Again, this is just a conversation. I'm not confirming that it's $59.99 or even $69.99. I'm saying that based on Sony's reputation, this sounds like they are going to. And you know why this is doubly worse, because Jamie touched on it, and I didn't actually open up with it. I should have. First of all, I think it's 1,000% disrespectful that this is not coming to the 15 plus million owners of the original game on PS4. I think that there should have been two versions. You could have got your PS4 version, and of course, if you want the nice new shiny version that's going to take advantage of all the bells and whistles the PS5 has, you can get it there. And go ahead. You want to say something, King?
But boom. Okay, then you gotta. Okay, so you have to put on your corporate hat.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to. All right. They were bleeding money. Okay, so that didn't stop just because they want to launch a console. You have to take your assets, whatever assets you do have, right? And whatever assets you can get ready, because Horizon Zero Dawn will not be at launch.
No.
Okay.
2021.
Gran Turismo won't be at launch. All right. So your heavy hitters is going to be a year or two out. People gave Microsoft flack when they said that, after the, second year, then, you start seeing heavy hitters. That's normal. All right. But they were just open and honest about it. This is how our roadmap will look. Listen, this is what happens when the software is not there. You take your biggest asset and you put it in this manner. But I'm going to say this, and this might not go over well for a lot of people. Be very happy that that guy leaked out that information about The Last of Us 2. Before that game got leaked, right? It was on indefinite hiatus. Indefinite, right? And the Ghost of Tsushima's release date also was on indefinite hiatus. After the leak came out, then you got a date. If that leak doesn't come out, and I don't know if that person knew something that they were trying to do with holding the game for the PlayStation 5, and don't put it past them, because y'all would say, no, Sony would never do that to their fans. Well, Sony's selling you DLC. So think about it in this way. What a way to start a generation where Last of Us 2 upgraded to the PlayStation 5 spec, because they already had the game running, they could upgrade it on a PlayStation 5 with Ghost of Tsushima. What type of launch lineup will that look like with Spider-Man? You're going home definitely with definite 3 titles, and then you'll probably add like 2 more that's in there for filler. Yeah. So if that leak never comes out, do we have this game last night launching? I really sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, wow, this puts it all in perspective that they was going to probably go for your wallet full on bang. And it's kind of sad, but this is business, and business is nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I absolutely agree. As a matter of fact, Sin Vendetta, a good friend of the show, very generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says this. Oh, he actually asks a question. Is Spider-Man Miles Morales the only, let me see if I can find it again. I just scroll real past. It says here, is Spider-Man Miles Morales the only first-party PlayStation launch title? I suppose yes, unless you count Bug Snacks. Which I don't know. I think Bug Snacks is going to be a launch DLC, or I mean, a downloadable title. So listen, I mean, if you listen, some people are going to like Bug Snacks. It's just not for me, but it's okay. I do want to move this conversation, keeping Sony in the tips of our tongues. The Last of Us 2 launched last night. I got a chance to play for about an hour and a half. I went to sleep just after 1:30 in the morning. I got up just before midnight, played a round of Uno before the game was finally available for me to play. And I played about 2.5 hours. So I got about 4 hours so far into it. It is extremely an impressive title. It is shocking that it is running on a PlayStation 4 Pro. At least that's how I'm doing it. The HDR is fantastic, and all of the bells and whistles that I have on my TV, it is using it to its advantage. I'm really enjoying it so far. It is very much The Last of Us. It is a sequel for its original. It controls very similar. The gunplay is definitely a little bit better. And it is as intense as the original was, especially with the clickers. There have been some tense moments where you are like literally crawling to try and get behind one of these things and do, a stealth kill. The game is really stealth based. And I'm just interested to know what the community thinks so far in the chat. Let us know if you've been playing the game, what your thoughts are, and anybody on the panel. King, why don't you tell us your story? Because we have an equally similar story regarding the ridiculous download speeds on the PlayStation 4. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
All right. Well, everybody knows I primarily game on my Xbox, so I'm used to uploads and downloads that are incredibly fast, right? So anytime I put on my PlayStation, I realize the reasons why the warts actually stick out. So I put on the PlayStation, and I was going to troll people on Twitter. So I purchased The Last of Us 2. All right, look, I play the AAA bangers that come out every 2-3 years. Hell yeah! If you're going to give me a great console and I don't have to buy games for every 2 or 3 years, definitely I'm in. So the 3 years is up. The 2 years is up. The last one was Spider-Man. This is up now. I'm ready to go. All right, so I saw it, I clicked, I took the pictures, and I posted on Twitter, I'm going to play the game. So I had to wait 5 hours. They had like a little time clock. Like normally on Xbox, when you purchase a game, if it's not ready yet, you can just preload, download, and then, come later. Well, on the PlayStation, you can't preload it. You have to wait until the time that it's released, then it'll download, right? So I said, well, I'm going to work. I'll put it my PlayStation to sleep. Now it tells you that it would download in the background. All downloads and all that stuff will happen. Okay, I come in from work. I have my little muffin. I'm sitting there with my dog. I had to check my news and stuff like that. I'm comfortable. I got my PlayStation controller. I said, let's get it. It's time. Now, at the same time, I had put the Resident Evil 3 to download, the demo, and the demo for Final Fantasy, right? So I said, let me make a little round robin of this. Those 2 games were downloaded. I'm looking at the dash. I'm like, what the hell is The Last of Us 2? Where is it? Let me go to the store. I purchased it. It was still sitting in the store. You ready to download?
Oh, wow.
I said, God, no. All right, so I put it to download because I had spaced out 2 hours just to get my feet wet, and the anticipation for the game is so high because I really like The Last of Us, the first one. I really did because I brought the game twice. All right, I brought it for the PlayStation 3 and I brought it for the PlayStation 4. And I'm ready to play this game, but I can't. And the downloads on the PlayStation absolutely, completely, 100% suck. For future futurist type of console, like the Xbox and the PlayStation and Stadia and all these other stuff that Amazon, it is the worst.
It is really the worst
downloading system that I have out of all of them. Terrible, but I'm gonna play it later. I get my impressions tonight.
Well, listen, I'll say this. What wound up happening with me is I got home yesterday with Mrs. Boomstick after 4. So I had the game. Now, I don't know if King knew this. You could start preloading The Last of Us 2. I was able to do that, but for some reason, around 5 o'clock, I'm looking at the download, and it was halfway done. It was I don't know, maybe downloading an hour. And I got an error, so I was like, "Oh my god! You know what? I don't know what this error is." It couldn't identify what the error was. I said, "You know what? Let me stop the download while it's only like maybe a third done. It's a little bit before half." And I said, "Okay, you know what? I'm gonna save it directly to the internal hard drive. Let's go." Well, that was at 5:40. Let's just say just before 6 o'clock. And don't you know that? By the time midnight came, it was still downloading. And mind you, all of my stuff is new. I'm running 5G in this house, no problems. Everything for Xbox downloads in a snap of your finger. You can literally see the bar go from start to finish. It's unbelievable. But for some reason, and maybe it was peak time, people are playing, peak time, people are starting to now preload this game. My God, it took forever, but thankfully, while it was still downloading, I was able to play for about an hour and a half before I went to sleep. And when I got up this morning, it was finally fully downloaded. But I did get a couple of messages from PlayStation saying that the software, which I bought directly from the PSN, because I bought it digitally, said it couldn't be verified as a proper purchase or something to those along the line, which I thought was a little weird. So I'm wondering if anyone else is getting any errors. Crispy Bomb, did you get your hands on The Last of Us 2? Are you going to play this game?
No.
I mean, listen. To be fair, it's not for everyone, and there obviously is a tremendous amount of controversy, surrounding it. Obviously, the leaks, the leaks of the leaks. Thankfully, I hadn't had anything spoiled for me, so I'm very happy about that. Dreadpool, are you planning to get your hands on The Last of Us 2?
Yes, when they port it to PS5.
Okay, well there you go. Okay, so you're gonna wait on that. Okay, and that's not such a bad choice. And Jamie, we know that you are play a lot of Xbox. Are you considering potentially getting, if not now, later, the Last of Us 2 for the PS5?
Yeah. I'll pick it up eventually. Unfortunately, I've had the entire game spoiled for me.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry.
That sucks, dude.
When the leaks happened, there was a short list on a reset error, and considering I can speed read, I literally had the whole game spoiled within like 5 seconds.
Wow.
But I mean, like the thing is, the game's going to be very controversial. A lot of games go through controversy and stuff. Although I saw a cutscene last night and I was like, that's in a game, okay. But yeah, I mean, I'll get it eventually, probably in a sale at some point when I get a PlayStation 5. But yeah, I think people should be really careful there, because like people are really spoiling that game.
I just want to give a shout out to Abacab72, I believe it is. He had written something in the chat, and it was regarding how Xbox gamers, or just gamers in general, are review bombing this game, giving it 0s and 4s, and this. I'm going to say this, folks.
That sucks.
I don't care what flag you fly, man. I mean, don't do that. I mean, listen. I guess everyone has their own choice, the freedom of choice in this country, but man, review bombing a game isn't going to take away someone's joy. Like you can give it a 0, and I'm going to enjoy The Last of Us 2 to its fullest. And he said something to the effect that this is what's going to happen with Halo Infinite. Well, if you are someone that I guess has a boring life, you're bored and you don't know what else to do except just be negative, and you want to just review bomb a game because it's not the flag you fly. Wow, you got to look in the mirror. That's all I'm going to say. Look in the mirror and ask, what the hell are you doing? Because
we've seen this a lot, and we've
We
seen this
have.
as
It's
Xbox gamers a lot. Like
yes.
and it's a shame because people look at Metacritic as like something special, and I go and
It's
say
not.
just play the
It's
game.
broken.
If you're interested in the game, play the
Yep.
game. I'm not interested. I've had it spoiled myself, even though I wasn't really into the story like some people are to begin with, but also seeing how much cutscenes there are, I'm like, I would rather just watch a movie. I mean, I think this would be a
I
pretty good
am going
movie.
to I will say this, Crispy. The one complaint that I have with the game, and again, folks, only 4 hours in, really, really enjoying it. The story is dragging a little bit. And nothing with the cutscenes. Cutscenes are gorgeous. It is like watching a movie, but there have been some instances where sometimes the story I understand this is how they're going to tell it, but it has some drag into the story. Now, hopefully the action does pick up and there's more exploring, but when the game wants to tell you the story, everything comes to a crawl. You're literally it becomes a walking sim. No offense, but that's what happens. You can't pull your gun, you can't go prone, you can't even look for things. You just literally, the story is unfolding, and you just have to let it unfold. And that would be my one critique. But I want to move on to one of the biggest topics of today's show, one that many people in this chat, which we have nearly 400 people watching. I want to thank everybody for coming out here. And also, I got to give a big shout out to a very good friend of the show. You know him as the Sheriff, Lethal Papa, patrolling the streets of the chat, keeping it safe from all the turd nuggets that come out to ruin your show. And you know what? I couldn't do it without him. And there's a few other ones. We have the Indie Gamer who's here, who's a moderator. And we have a few others. And without them, this could be the Wild West. And thankfully, my chats are pretty good. But let me just catch up on some of the super chats, and we're going to get into this huge Xbox topic. And if you're a fan of Xbox and you're looking forward for July, get ready, strap on, because this is going to be a big one. Eagles fan 76, a very good, generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says this: what is really spooky is for the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 enhanced games will only work for digital if you have the disc. You will have to rebuy. That's not right. Oh yeah, there's a lot of question marks to what's going on with Sony, and I think they're going to be beating people over the head for charging people. And you know what? I'm sorry. I don't want to keep my PlayStation 4. I'm going to be honest. LMNOPO, a very good friend and a generous friend, drops an additional outstanding a $5 super chat, and he says The Last of Us 2, he's 17 hours in. Holy shit, dude.
God bless.
Good for you. And he says, looks awesome. Story makes it a 6 out of 10. Too slow paced for me. No spoilers. You see, there you go. There's someone else saying about the slowness of the game. I'm not making this up. And Gamers Play. First of all, dude, welcome to the show. He drops a very generous and outrageous $20 super chat and says this: what's with all the hate on The Last of Us 2 on Metacritic? User ratings, ? Mostly about story, and people are putting down Halo Infinite without even seeing the gameplay. Shout out to the king. Xbox will shock all in July. Quote, the Book of X. Yes, thank you for that, my brother. And yes, first of all, I am going to tell you this right now. If you do not play a game, you have no right to make any comments on it. I don't care. I'm not talking about you. Well, you have to buy the game to make a comment. No, if you do not play a game, you have no right to make a comment. You want to go off video? Sure. You want to go off someone else's opinion? I hear you, but don't put it as de facto your opinion if you haven't picked up a controller and played said game.
Boom. I got a way to fix the user Metacritic rating.
Let them show the receipts.
Yes. Whatever you purchase, you will get a number and a tag, right? With every game, even digital copies. And that copy, before you put in your comments, you can put it in your digital tag with your opinion of the game. That will cut back on fake accounts and fake stuff, and you can get a real assessment of what the users feel about the game. And I think that would stop a lot of this madness
Well,
that's
you know what?
going on right now.
What you're saying makes a lot of sense, because they do that on Rotten Tomatoes, where you actually have to show them the picture of the ticket receipt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually a good way to fix a very broken Metacritic, for sure, especially on the user ratings. And Elemental PO shows his generosity. My goodness, dude, thank you once again. He said the game isn't horrible, it's just not well written. Okay, well, I mean, he's 17 hours in. You can't argue that point. And Sin Vendetta, a very good, generous friend of the show, drops an additional $5 super chat. Says, unfortunately, I waited 7 years to play the first Last of Us, so I will wait to play part 2 until after I get done with the first game and the DLC. Yeah, you know what, dude?
Enjoy.
Just enjoy it. Just enjoy what the first game's all about. The DLC is fantastic. Tells a really personal story, and then you'll get to the Last of Us 2. But let's get into the weeds, so to speak. Now, obviously, this is what King has been waiting for. You can hear it in his voice, and we're going to go to him first. But last Thursday, Sony came out, and in my opinion, they strutted their stuff. Now, people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. That is fine. But I enjoyed the show. I gave it an 8.5. For me, they did everything I wanted for me, okay? But if it's not for you, I hear you. But we have been hearing for, I don't know, a couple of months now that the July event is going to be something of a legend, right? And recently we have gotten some serious quotations from people that not only I trust, but many people in this community look to for their opinions, because they are considered industry insiders. And just the other day, we had a massive post from somebody that let me get his name. Let's see, what is his name? Well, first of all, his name is Eastman, and he has posted numerous leaks before, and apparently he has a fantastic track record of getting it right. But before we get into what Eastman had to say, this week I did a couple of videos, which I'm getting back into. I had a lot of people in the community actually reach out to me and say they want me to do more. Thank you very much. People want me to do videos, so I'm going to do at least one video per week moving forward, on top of the 3 live shows, because the people are asking for it. And you know what? I can produce that. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Plus, it's just extra work, and I actually enjoy.
It was like 5 to 6 minutes. It was really good, really tight, really good.
Yeah, thank you so much. But let's talk about Shinobi 602 and Benji Sales. Now, these are names that should ring a bell for you if you are proper on social media, or more importantly, keeping your ear to the floor when it comes to Twitter. And here is what they had to say on the subject matter of the July show for Microsoft, which is right around the corner. And this is from Benji Sales. He says this: people are in for a rude awakening in July with these Xbox has no games narratives. Just saying, if you want to cheerlead for a console, you'll have to find a different stance/tagline for next gen. Just heads up. Now, he was responding to a fan by the name of Evan P. of Twitter, who said this: I just hope it's not Halo, Gears, or Forza. I want to see some new IP to rival Sony's big guns and Fable. Benji Sales simply replied, there will be new IP coming. Not to be outdone, Shinobi 602, who has gotten it right way more than he's gotten it wrong, was asked by someone on Reddit by the name of Theory. And he asks this: are you still positive about the July event? Really curious what they will do. I don't think they will talk hardware at all. I think it's going to really be, he goes, think it's going to really be games focused. And here was Shinobi's response. They are absolutely going to bring the heat in July. Without spoiling anything, there is a lot in capitals to show. Now, these are 2 gaming insiders that have tremendous track records and are both extremely competent and, of course, dependable. But let's get into, of course, who Eastman is. Now,
Mhm.
Eastman is someone that posts on Reddit. He is verified and he has posted numerous times before. And this is what he had to say about the July event. He says this. But from what I have heard from all of my sources, July isn't about Sony. July is about the industry, and they want it to be a night of quote unquote mic drop moments. They are going to come hard with the strategy they have been building up for years, and they want Google, Amazon, Apple, Sony, and yes, Nintendo to be shaken up. So expect a series of mic drop moments following by the price being the key parts of all of this. Now we're going to back end this,
Mhm.
again. This topic is so big. I had to break it down into sections because I got to get my panel involved here. And I'm going to get them involved in a second, but I want to continue with what Eastman had to say. He says this: Microsoft wants to become what Netflix was a few years ago when it comes to streaming and such. They're aiming to acquire a lot of quality content for their platform. As such, the Xbox Series S will be a key device in the company's strategy, as it will allow them to reach a market they were never able to hit with its low price. That is why Lockhart is a key device in the strategy. It's a low-cost gateway that they can control to make sure the hardware can handle their new compression techniques that will employ the xCloud over the next few years. And listen, one of the things I took away from this package that I put together was this wasn't just one story. When I wrote this, I was pulling from multiple sources. And when you talk about Benji Sales, when you talk about Shinobi 602, and now you talk about Eastman, these are quote unquote industry insiders. And just grouping them together, again, separate stories, separate opinions, separate written articles, all saying the same thing, says to me that if you are an Xbox fan and you have been waiting for E3 for the last couple of years, wait to E3, we're going to get it in spades. King, I want to go to you first. When you hear three highly respectable and qualified industry insiders that are saying the same thing on separate dates, separate occasions, separate articles, I gotta be honest with you. Where there's smoke, there's fire. What are your thoughts, and how big is this July event going to be?
Well, let's dig right into it. Well, how big is it going to be? It's so big that it spawned its other show in May. Remember that show in May?
Yes,
That was the leftovers.
yes.
That was the leftovers for the show that was coming forward. And a lot of guys is like, that show was kind of weak. All right. But you walked away from that show saying, at least 8 to 10 of those games, I'm about those. I'm about those. And those are games that's going to be in a launch window. Those are the games that you're going to be playing. Those are the games that you will go to see this year. So if that was the runoff, right, we are both privy to background chats. Not these 3 chats, because I'm not in any of these 3 guys' rooms. I'll say that right off the front. But all that information that they're saying, I already knew that information. I pretty much know, like I pretty much knew what list of the PlayStation games was coming out, but I didn't understand it. Like I didn't understand, like Bugsnax. I didn't understand what that stuff meant, right? So it's nice to have a list. But when they said Spider-Man, that's when I thought the list was a fraud, right? Because they said Spider-Man, and I'm like, they lying, Spider-Man coming. Whoa. I was like, oh snap, Miles Morales, the list was right? So now that made me look at this list, and I'm like, I see stuff on the list, and I'm like, whoa, that's a mic drop moment. Okay, so the Halo, Gears, and Forza stuff, yeah, you're gonna get that stuff. That's part of their DNA. So get that out of your system. All right, get that out of your system. Bigger, better, badder. You're gonna get that, right? So because you got Gran Turismo, right? Nobody cried there, right? So good, you're getting Forza, but you'll eat that soon. You get that soon. Halo, everybody loves Halo. I want that. I don't know about Gears. Probably Gears Tactics, probably. But the other stuff that's on that list, like I'm sitting there like, oh my God, if they pull it off in the manner that I want them to, and I don't want them to do those little crappy little transitions that I was seeing that could have went to gameplay or more games on the PlayStation thing, because they were supposed to have 35 games, 32 to 35 games there.
Yes.
Some of those games was missing, like Knack 3. I really wanted to see it. I know guys think I'm joking and I'm clowning. No, I really wanted to see Knack 3 and wanted to see what the PlayStation is capable of, because Knack 1 showed you the particle effects and all that other stuff that it was capable of. So now this show, it's going to have moments that'll make you say, this is why I'm a fan. This is why I believe. And it's not about the direct competitor that a lot of people want them to be in competition with, which is Sony. No, the true competitors is Google. The true competitors is Amazon. The true competitors is Apple. All right. These companies are gigantic conglomerates that are trying to take over our gaming platforms.
Yes. Great point.
Right. So when you laugh at Google because they've said they put out a game and you like, that game looks like crap. Think about it this way. Before Sony got into gaming, they were making televisions and Walkman. Okay. Making phones. Okay. Making cameras. Now they're making games, and they are one of, if not the biggest giant in gaming right now, right? That didn't happen overnight. That happened with trial and error, and I was on the ground with them with trial and error. Some of the games hit, some of it didn't. Same thing with Stadia. Some of the games are going to hit, some of it don't. But then there's certain things that they get right, because that ease of download, that jumping in and that stuff like that, and no patches and stuff, a lot of that stuff really resonates with certain people that just want to pick up and go. Listen, these companies will come into this marketplace. These companies will try to establish themselves, and Microsoft is the beachfront that is trying to beat them back. So you will have mic drop moments. But the key factor is what you saw with Stadia and the price point and getting these things to your home. That Xbox Series X, probably a little bit bigger than this. Don't be shocked by the size.
There's a again, we're gonna get into the real deep weeds on the second back end of this when we're talking price. We're like, no.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to that, because what you're saying, because again, I love your businessman perspective, because obviously you have several businesses. That's what you do, so you understand marketing and value proposition and customers. So we're gonna bring that back around. But getting to the event for you personally, you hear mic drop. Some people consider, one mic drop. They're talking about having an entire event be considered a mic drop. That is a tall order. But again, this is coming from people close to the situation that I personally trust. What are you personally expecting Microsoft to bomb us with?
Fable.
Yes, well, Fable's definitely going to be there for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Fable is going to be that game that Fable is going to be that game that you said, oh snap, they really are here with this. I really can't say too much because it's me lying saying I don't know. Like a game, I can say a game that I will hope, right?
Right.
Mech Assault.
Yes, I'd love to see a new Mech Assault. I would love to see a new Mech Assault.
Phil Dominus Maximus Spencer, soon to be Aurelius. I know you're watching because you're probably having your breakfast right now, watching Breakfast with Boom with the great panel that we have here right now. Mech Assault, Phil.
Well, you know what's funny? He mentioned that. He mentioned that publicly, that's one title he would love to bring back. And we know when Phil wants something, he gets it done. But you know what? Listen, let's bring Crispy Bomb into this conversation regarding the quote-unquote mic drop event that is, again, it's scheduled for July. We just don't know a date. I think that next week we get the date. I think it's going to be the second week. I think it's going to be on the 7th. Remember, I don't have an inside source. I have some, but no one is saying this. I'm calling the 7th of July to be the event. I think it's going to be at night, so everyone is watching. And I think that there are going to be a lot of podcasts for the remainder of the week talking about what Microsoft just did. For you personally, when you hear not one Crispy, not two, but three industry insiders talking about the same thing from three different perspectives, it leads me to believe that not only do they know what they're talking about, but there is some truth to what they're saying. For you personally, is this the mic drop moment that Microsoft wanted, needs, and what the fans have been asking for? What are you expecting?
I'm expecting them to bring it, and we can go back to last E3, and didn't it just feel like you don't even have to know anything, but feel like they held stuff back? I mean, that's my feeling. I actually heard rumors that Hellblade 2 was supposed to be shown at that E3.
Yes,
So,
I heard the same thing as well. Yes.
You know, I think, you know, shame on them for making us wait, number one. Okay. And I think if we had a proper E3, I truly believe like you guys that were going would probably walk out of there like white and like, what just happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, it's going to be a lot of, you remember when they announced Back Combat? That was probably the largest cheer you've ever seen in the E3. You know what I mean? And I feel like you would have that constantly. The problem is obviously all the stuff that's happened. But I'm hoping that the presentation is on point.
Yes.
We need the presentation on point, because I almost feel like, you know, once you got out of the whole, you know, webcam thing and we got into the games, the presentation got really good because it was just game after game after game. The thing is we wanted more gameplay. And you kind of said that we were going to get more gameplay than we really did. So messaging before it, please get it right. I fully expect Halo Infinite to have at least, I would say, 10 minutes worth of actual gameplay, which would be amazing. So, and then we have the worst kept secret in the industry of Fable. Okay. And you got to say, are they going to show us gameplay? If they show us gameplay, they show us a great trailer plus gameplay, people are going to be really happy. And then you have a bunch of IPs that, you know, have hope it's there or might be there, like a Perfect Dark. Like there's a lot of IPs that Xbox owns that they're such old games, they're such old IPs that you could really reinvent the IP. And I'm hoping those are those mic drop moments, because there's a lot of like Perfect Dark is a beloved IP, and I think you could really give it
that game is 20 years old, and considering that it originally launched on the N64, if you release that in a third person perspective, in a Splinter Cell, you know, tactic type of a game, that I would consider that a new IP. Sure, it's old, but it's going to be a new game. And you know something, there are people in this chat right now that weren't even alive when freaking A Perfect Dark first launched on the N64. So it would be technically a new IP to them. So I agree 100%.
And we're going to get you're going to see them, you know, kind of get into like a couple minute section of like, hey, Gears Tactics, this is how, you know, we've improved it for Xbox,
which that's going to be a launch title for the Series X or PS, by the way.
Yeah, and that's my point. Like we're seeing them use PC sometimes to get a game out there, and then, you know, people could argue with me, but those PC guys are kind of, you know, they're testing it for us.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna see games. I really can't say much more than that. I could tell you this: these three guys are on point, and in July, for once, we might not have to say wait till the next E3. We don't need any more, because I think we're going to see stuff that's going to be a few years down the line, but they have, you know, the assets and everything already in place, so we don't have the scale bound stuff happen and stuff like that. You know, Phil is going to be very selective on what he shows, but I also believe that some of these games were ready to be at least shown last year.
Yep.
No, I absolutely agree. You know, speaking of E3, I just want to catch up on some of the super chats. Regulator 951 once again shows his outstanding generosity with an additional $10 super chat. But what he says breaks my heart, but it gives me hope for next year. I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm missing E3. I went to Xbox Fan Fest last year and had a blast. I got to chat with devs, meet Phil's Dominus. Man, that's the only guy I didn't meet. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. He says, greatest 2 days ever. I wish we had one this year. Yeah, listen, it just so happens that King David is on the panel. The lineup of events that we had planned for this E3 were going to be, because last year was my first E3. I've been gaming since 1978. I never thought I can get there, and thanks to the guidance of the realm, I got myself to E3, and even better so, thanks to Frederick Jackson, who's in the chat. This is a gentleman that I've been talking to for quite a bit, and he was unbelievably gracious enough to give me his to offer me his +1, because I didn't get into FanFest. I just didn't get into it, and he got into it, and he made me his +1. I got a chance to meet him. We got to meet him in person. We got to hang out at FanFest. Got to talk about Expo. I'm going to say this, as a fan of gaming, I have never felt more like a rock star than what Microsoft was able to do at FanFest. The interaction with the highest of high brass is literally like just walking into a GameStop and talking to someone on the other end of the counter. That's how easy it was. I got a chance to talk with Rod Ferguson. I got a chance to talk with so many of the only one I didn't get a chance to talk with and shake his hand was Phil Spencer, because I was busy getting 343 to sign a poster for me. God damn it, I should have made better choices, but you know what? Whatever. It is what it is. Yes, next year we are all hoping to return to E3, and I will say this, and King will agree with me. One of the best parts of E3 is not the games. It's not the spectacle. It's not the 7 days. It is the human element. Mm-hmm. And what do I mean by that? Well, I got a chance to live with the Iron Lords for a week. I got a chance to meet so many people that I only talked to over a microphone, and it was glorious. But more importantly, I got a chance to actually meet so many people from this gaming community. It was awesome. And you know something? There were even some points where I was embarrassed because people would hear the voice and be like, "Oh, you're Boomstick. Can I get a picture?" I want you to know I felt embarrassed because I'm like, I can't believe they want to take a picture with me. Mm-hmm. But they did, and it was glorious, and I cannot wait to return to normalcy next year. And hopefully there will be a fan fest. Hopefully there will be an E3, and hopefully I will be able to steal King's car once again. So, but let's continue with the super chats, and let's get back to the topic at hand. Philly Eagle, a very good friend of the show. Welcome to the show. He says it's his day off, so enjoy your day off, and I'm glad that you're listening. He drops a $5 super chat and says this: no one is required to like the same games. If you like it, cool. If you don't, cool. Get over it. This applies to every game. #fun. #to each their own. And very well spoken, sir. And I think that those are words to live by. If it's not your type of game, it's okay. Not every game is for every gamer. And a very good friend of the show who just recently, I believe he's only been married 2 or 3 weeks, Scrub Nurse, is here. Thanks for being here, dude. He drops a very generous $10 super chat and says this: do you guys think Microsoft should just pass on the live stream and push the show to 4K and use all of the resources like E3 to stream 4K? The games have to be in their best light to emphasize the power, and I've been pushing for this for years. I don't like the streaming thing. I don't think they need to go to Mixer. I don't think that they need to go to Twitch. I think that they need to go to a VOD site like YouTube and put it in 4K and just get the views that way. Get it out there for people to see. You know what? Run that on your.
It doesn't make business sense.
I know it doesn't make business sense, but let's hope that they find the solution through all of these streaming platforms to make it look good.
But financially, Sony got paid for all those views.
Yes, they did.
All right, they got a check. It's like I told you before, supply and demand, guys. Y'all want the information, Sony puts together this stuff. That stuff isn't cheap to put this stuff together, to coordinate this stuff. You know, this production values is very high on Sony's show. Kudos to them for giving you a great show. But also the way they had to stream it out, and I understand 1080p, 30 frames per second, fine. You know, you get an upload later, and they get paid off the back end of that upload later too. But we want to get this front end money as well. So remember, guys, it's a business, and as much as we want to see it in a certain way, they have to recoup some type of
They have
bread
to get
here.
money. Again, you're putting on your business hat, and I definitely appreciate the perspective that you bring to the panel, because yes, we have to look at it from a non-spoiled gamer's point of view, which I believe we all are in some form of fashion. But Sin Vendetta, once again, my goodness, dude, your generosity is not to be believed. Thank you for the outstanding support. He drops another $5 super chat and says, "Boom. This is the event that Phil Spencer and Team Xbox has been building towards for 5 years. They're going to bring it in July." Yes, I agree 100%. Victor Alistine is here. Victor, thank you for not only hanging out, but dropping a very generous $5 super chat and says this: they need to have The Rock reprise his launch role, and they need a tech demo looking games. Can we also have Pope design a Batman Series X? Yeah, if they don't hire the Xbox Pope, then someone should be fired, because he is unbelievably great. Regulator 951 drops an additional $2 super chat. Thank you for that, dude. He says, "I'm using my State of Decay bottle right now." Well, good on you, man. I really enjoyed State of Decay, but Dreadpool, I want to bring you into this conversation now. July, there are a lot of people, including myself, that are throwing temper your expectations bullshit right out the window. I am going in there balls to the wall, expecting my eyeballs to be melted. And you know what? I will take nothing less than that. For you personally, when you hear these three insiders talking the talk, walking the walk, what are your thoughts? And more importantly, what are your expectations for July?
Well, I have to keep my expectations in check, because my little fangirl wants to jump up and shout out to the world. So we have to keep that, we do have to keep it in check, because what happens is you overhype yourself. You expect more than what they can bring and produce. In your head, you will imagine more than possible. Okay. Now, during, for the show itself, okay, I want all this stuff,
Of course.
Are we expecting blinks? No.
I wish.
Okay.
I wish on everything that's real. I wish. I love Blink.
I would kind of Blinks the cat. I would really want to conquer, but let's keep it.
But let's, we're trying to keep it well rounded, so we don't want that. We want Fable, right? We want Killer Instinct. We want, like we said, a Perfect Dark that has a Splinter Cell vibe to it, and do it a la God of War, where they redesign everything, the graphics, the gameplay. It's a remake. It's not just an upres. Totally from the ground up, rebuild the game. And like you said, it was 20 years old. There's a lot of people that have never played it, and that only know the name and only know the Perfect Dark Zero, and we're less than impressed with it. You know what I'm saying? So the one game that I'm waiting on, and I know Phil has this in his sights, Crimson Skies.
Oh, yes.
I'm waiting for that to be one of the mic drops. But at the same time, we look at Baldur's Gate. All right, they just did a live stream. IGN had 2 separate streams. GameSpot had a stream, and at 1080-60, and I literally had to restart my computer. I had to watch it on the phone too, because I was getting so much lag. It was buffering everything. I dropped it down to 720-60. Same thing from all 3 and the phone. I had to drop it down to 480, and every once in a while I would get some stuttering. Okay, so it just depended on the stream and where they were, and I would bring it back up to live just to see how bad it would shift over from the buffering. So that's part of the issue with these companies, is they need to have a broader base to distribute to. So if you only have, and I'm talking about as a distribution center, so if they only have so much bandwidth, it doesn't matter if it's 4K or not.
Mhm.
Okay, you're going to have so many people watching. If you can't handle that bandwidth of that many people watching, you're going to get the stutter. And this is a prime example of Baldur's Gate. You know, did you guys had some issues with the Sony show?
I did. I had clipping. Yeah.
Right, and I didn't. But on your clipping, did you reduce it the speed or your image that you're
Yeah,
watching?
I wound up dropping it down to 480. I had no choice.
Okay, but yet again, you're in a more highly populated area than I am.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when you factor that in, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong, even though it did not go wrong. It's just how life is. You know, you can plan for everything, and something will find a way to throw it off. And that's the same thing. Microsoft's going to have, or Xbox is going to have the same issue. So they have to mitigate as much of it as possible. And if that means having more servers to have it at the same time, pay YouTube to have more servers, more bands out there. Like I said, IGN actually had 2 of them. I was like, why is there 2? So I went ahead and I played them both at the same time, trying to figure out. And I'm looking at my internet speed, and my internet speed is spot on, 250 up and down. So if my down is 250 and I'm not even getting it, that's not my side. That's their side. They're being overloaded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know what's great? What Microsoft has an advantage, Dreadpool, and I'll get your opinion on this as well, is they, for years, have always gone first. And now they did something that I have been begging Phil Spencer to do, and that is to wait for Sony. Sony did their show. It was an impressive show to me. Some people will disagree, and that's fine. We don't all have to agree on everything. I enjoyed the show for what it was. Again, it gave me what I wanted. But with that said, Microsoft has in front of them now, right? Now, some people will argue with me and say, well, Microsoft did technically go first because they went on the 7th. That was their second and third party games. That wasn't their first party games. So if you, again, we can debate or agree to disagree, whatever you want to say. But because they have EA Play that was last night, a lot of people walked away from that horrendously disappointed, right? You had Sony's show. Now Microsoft can sit back and they could strategically spend the money and plan. Listen, we need every server available. We're going to spend balls to the wall money because we want people to walk away with their faces exploded. I agree with you. I think that they not only should they do it, I think they are going to do exactly what you're saying there, Dreadpool.
Right, and see, and that's what I'm thinking is streaming across all platforms, not just YouTube, Mixer, because you want Mixer's your company. So yes, you want Mixer to be profitable, right? So bringing customers or potential customers into your platform, that's something that's going to open it up. I know what everybody has to say, and Mixer's on the bottom of the list, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's still your platform.
Right.
Put it there. Even Twitch. I mean, yeah, it's a competitor, but guess what? You want to mitigate it? So there are some people that would rather watch Twitch and never watch Mixer. So if you're never going to watch Mixer, why not get it to them where they can actually watch it? So you put it on Twitch. So yeah, they need to get it out there for everybody. Now, if they use their Azure servers, you know, I was just reading the chat. The question is, how do you get to those Azure servers? You would have to have a separate website or something. So if they're going to open it up, and you know, there's so much that they can do. Hopefully they'll get it all handled out. And the way I look at the first third party show that they had, that was that little twitch that you did to get somebody else to flinch. Okay, and that's kind of what I look at it, because now that they flinched, now you're going at it full bore. You're going to take them out. So that's okay. Little fangirl just popped up.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel everything that you just said. I thought that first, well, it wasn't that the E3 third party showing. I thought that was forcing them to do something, forcing their hand.
I agree. Yes,
and it's also a test. It was a test to see what will screw up so we can fix it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we test streamed something just to see if it would work and how it would work, because we did some changes.
Yep.
All right. So now we know, okay, those changes didn't work and these changes here did work. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Again, we're going to see something very special, but I want to get Jamie Moran's opinion on this. Now, Jamie, you've done a couple of videos for your outstanding YouTube channel, and I'm sure that more are coming regarding what you expect for July's event. But because we're talking about it, because we have, you can call it confirmation, you can call it, a whisper in a dark corner, whatever you want to call it. But I think that I really and putting a tremendous amount of stake in what these three industry insiders said, because I trust them. I've used their sources before, and like I said, 9 out of 10 times they get it right. For you personally, are you expecting this to be the mic drop moment event that every Xbox gamer has been asking for this entire generation?
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it like this: a new generation is upon us. Normally, we have a huge E3 for both consoles when a new generation is ahead. And in January, when Sony pulled out of E3, Microsoft said this is going to be our biggest E3 yet, and they were hyping an E3 up in January of all months. Then the world went to crap.
Yeah.
But like, you have to think about it. Like, they have all these studios making games. And these studios have multiple teams making games. We have room, and let's face it, Fable's real. We all know. That's basically like the worst kept secret in the gaming industry. But like there's the perfect dark rooms and stuff. Like I totally see like this being the biggest event Microsoft has ever put on, because they have the content there. They have the developers making that amount of content. And never, like, think about it like this: back when the Xbox One launched, they had Turn 10, 343, and Black Tusk, basically. That's it. And now they have like 15 studios compromised of different teams, and that's huge. That's like Ubisoft has that many teams basically, and it's a big deal, because people keep looking at the main event for Xbox saying, oh, but look at these games and like how it was presented. Like, that was basically a last minute whim of some indie games and some third party games. And if you look at every other E3 in the past, we usually get a week of compressed content of what we're going to be playing for the next 2 years. And if you look at the gaming calendar, we still don't know what's coming. First party, third party. Like, if you look at the gaming calendar, like October, November is normally stacked. But this year, there's virtually nothing being announced already. And Summer Games Fest's been, let's face it, a fart in the wind. And
it has. Yeah.
Microsoft know what they have to do. I like the format of Sony's event, and I hope this time Microsoft gets better microphones than what I have.
It's true.
And I think Microsoft are in a prime position, because, like, let's face it, people like Benji Sales and stuff are usually correct, and the rumors that's been flying around for the past few months, it's all leading to something. And Microsoft has overhyped things in the past, but when it comes to this, they know they have to deliver, because they announced their new console and showed it at the Game Awards. They try new bold things, and that's the Microsoft we've been seeing for a little while now, and it's what we're going to continue to see. So when we see the new, Xbox Series S, and when we see all the new games in the new studios, and we still have rumors about them buying more studios in Poland.
WB, but we can't get into that. You can check out yesterday's Xbox Factor podcast, where I broke it down in a really well thought out plan, the reason why Microsoft has to do it. And of course, I got some pushback on that, Jamie. But we're not going to get into that right now. We do have a massive topic to back end this. Anything else that you would like to add regarding the event for you? Is there one particular game that absolutely, positively needs to be there?
New IP.
Okay.
I've been, like, the thing is, I've always wanted Microsoft to lean into RPGs, and it looks like they're going to lean into RPGs. They have at least 3 studios making them, and this generation's been very disappointing for sci-fi RPGs.
Yeah,
and
we know that you're the biggest Mass Effect fan this side of Texas.
And the thing is, Microsoft, they have the studios, and when you see the concept art from some of the people that the initiative and stuff. It's like, it makes you wonder, like, what could they be making? And if they have more studios making RPGs, I'm happy. We're probably going to see more IP, more new IP at this show. And it's just like, I think, the whole played out thing at this point is, Halo, Forza, Gears. Whenever the Nintendo Switch was announced, you know what I saw in chat all the time? Oh, we're going to get a new Mario or Zelda. It's like, we know the deal. These consoles have these IPs they just rely on, and Microsoft relying on Halo, Forza, Gears is the norm. It's their bread and butter. They are billion-dollar franchises that people love, but they have the money and the resources to put into other games now, and we're going to see that pay off in July.
Well, you know what? To your point, and I've called this before. I called this months ago, and I'm going to call it live on the air right now. You're getting the holy trinity for the Xbox Series X and S launch this fall. You're going to get Halo Infinite. You're going to get Forza Motorsport 8, and you're getting the recently released Gears Tactics. Now, maybe some people don't think that's a cool lineup. Give me the Trinity and I'm good. And all of them are new games. Gears is not the same Gears. It's a tactic-based game. We know that we're getting the $500 million slip space engine in Halo Infinite, which is, if we get a chance to get to that, we're going to be talking about that on the back end of the next topic. And of course, Forza Motorsport 8 is going to be revolutionary on that Series X, running in every bell and whistle you could possibly imagine. But what I want to do is I just want to catch up on a few of the super chats and then get right into the next massive topic for today's show. Of course, keeping with Xbox as the main crux of the story. Gamers Play drops a very generous $5 super chat. First of all, dude, thanks so much for being here. We super appreciate you hanging out. He says Grounded demo is turning some heads. Those spiders, though, sleeper hit incoming. Yes, I believe Grounded is not only going to be a sleeper hit, I think it's going to be one of those games in the same conversation of Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeon that people are just going to love to play.
I kept saying it, Boom. Yes, don't sleep on Grounded.
You've been saying it. To Crispy's point, he has been saying that this is going to be something special for months now, and it looks like you are right. Echelon 7 The Dark drops a $5 super chat. Dude, thank you for your generosity, but also hanging out with us on this Friday morning. He says State of Decay 3, Compulsion's next game, Obsidian's next game, The Medium are being slept on. Damn it, where did it just go? And it says here they're going to melt people's faces off. Oh, I agree. Every one of those titles are going to shock a lot of people. And a very good friend, a very generous friend of the show, comes in with a $10 super chat. Super chat. You know him as JD Gamer, and I know him as a very good friend. He says this: I just have to know, King David, what are the chances that Microsoft delivers the ultimate mic drop by picking up WB Games Studio? And what is your idea of the ultimate mic drop moment for July?
Okay, so we've been talking about this in the background together. My thoughts on that is if they can separate the language in it, and they can just purchase the studio, the gaming divisions as a whole, and or if they can do something in the fashion that they can purchase them but keep them as a third-party studio, because I would never want Mortal Kombat to be locked off to one console.
It probably won't be. That would be something. That would be like a Minecraft situation,
right? So it's like little things like that in the language. If they can get to a language in that, because at no point in time, I see a lot of dudes think I'm a Sony hater. I'm not. Okay, I've been supporting them forever. So please, I've been playing on that before y'all was playing on anything. But at the same time, I hold them at the same standard I hold anyone I give my money to. I want my money's worth. So a lot of time, and I know y'all think this, but listen, if they purchase WB, it would be great if they can lock Batman behind Microsoft. They
will. They will. Yes.
Right.
That he would be a first party studio.
Exactly.
And they would pull. What they would do, King, is they'd pull a Sony. And the same way Spider-Man is locked behind the PlayStation 4 and now 5, they would lock Batman behind the Xbox and, of course, the PC.
Yeah, and with the push behind HBO, because remember, DC is now locked behind HBO. I think that push with HBO as well can factor into financial gain. So I can see that happening. I hope it happens. And my mic drop moment, you made me switch it now. Now it's no longer Mecha Salt, it's Blinks.
Again, it's going to be an incredible show, and yes, like I said, if you missed yesterday's Xbox Factor podcast, we spent almost an hour on this particular topic, talking about why. So there are a lot of people that says Phil Spencer has said publicly, if you're talking about it, we knew about it, and we're not interested. And someone actually wrote to me on through the messages through YouTube, and I answered them, and I'll say it exactly what I told them. In every aspect other than what we're talking about, that would be true. But this is one particular situation that has it. Let's understand the levity of what I'm saying. AT&T wanting to get rid of the entire catalog of WB games is something that has never before been seen in gaming. I've been gaming since '78. I can tell you for an absolute goddamn fact, this is unprecedented. And like I said in my video yesterday, the three companies that have been spoken about publicly that have showed interest, EA, Activision, and Take-Two, those three companies combined don't even have, listen to what I'm saying, they don't even have a tenth of Microsoft's $1 trillion business.
Yeah.
Okay? Not even a tenth when you combine them, and they're all in the billions with a B. Okay? One is 40, one is 22, one is 15. Not even a tenth. So the company that not only financially can handle a purchase this big, but structurally could handle a purchase this big is Microsoft. And again, if this does happen, Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat is
Oh my God.
happening. I'm telling you right now, because Ed Boon has already talked about it a couple of years ago publicly, and he has already said he would drop whatever he's doing to make that game. All right, so let's do this.
Oh my God.
As we close in on 500, nearly 500 people watching on a Friday morning, I want to thank everybody for coming here, tuning in, and hopefully you are enjoying today's show. We're going to get back to Mic Drop Moment Part 2. Again, the topic was so big, I literally had to split it up. Now, in the article that I pulled, and I pulled multiple articles to put this together, WCCF Tech once again is mentioned live on the air, and the credible source that we talked about earlier, his name is Eastman. We talked about him, and speaking on Beyond 3D Forums, Eastman, who, like I said before, has a proven track record and has access to insider Microsoft information, revealed that the Xbox Series S will be half of the price of the Series X. And it's going to come in a small factor, and it will be an all digital console. But this, my friends, is where we get into the weeds of things. And this is where King is going to go crazy. Okay. Now, we've been hearing a $600 PlayStation 5. We've been hearing a $400 PlayStation Digital. We've been hearing a potential $600 or $500 PlayStation 5. When I think the PlayStation 5, both consoles are going to launch, I think one's going to be $499, and I think one's going to be $399. The digital one is going to be $100 cheaper. But according to this rumor from Eastman, he says this: the last I heard, it will be half the price of the Xbox Series X. And I heard that Microsoft have been prepared to launch the Series X at $399 USD. I'm not sure what the final price will be. I think if Sony is $500, $600, Microsoft may try to go in at $200, $400. But we will see. Now, obviously, we have heard Phil Spencer say, and I quote, he has the full backing of Microsoft, which basically spells out that Satya Nadella is on board for anything that they need to do to hashtag win this generation from the jump. Now, King, I see you dancing. I see you getting excited. We've talked about this on ILP. We've talked about this on Twitter. We've talked about this on my show. Microsoft is in a financial position to go for the juggler. And going for the juggler, cutting them from ear to ear and smiling
It's
as
weird.
Sony bleeds out on the floor is going to be Phil Spencer saying that you know how you win a generation? 400, 200. That's how you win a generation. And they would shock. You want to talk about mic drop moment? You want to talk about the internet wires melting in your computer? This is how you do it. What are your thoughts on Eastman's statement?
Okay, so the show. Let me tell you, I'm gonna get to his statement because I knew that I couldn't say anything before, so I had to shut up, right? And I looked at it, I was like, boy, if that happens, boy. All right, so that show that we talked about that Jared Poole said, you know how they go like that to make you flinch. Okay, so Sony flinched, right? So when they showed their show, I thought Sony show was a 4, and I said if they show the console, that's 2 points, right? And then they got another 2 points for the additional console. Now, only reason why I gave them 4 points was each game that I will physically purchase with my cash, right? The only reason why Microsoft rates higher with me is because a lot of that stuff goes to Game Pass, games that I will never try. For each game that I'm going to try or I'm interested in and I can actually obtain, that's a point. That's how I work my system, okay? So that's how I got to an 8-point score for Sony's show. This is where I think Jim Dance Moves Ryan messed up. I think he messed up when he elaborated on what the digital was. I think he should have kept that quiet. I think he shouldn't have said that it's the same exact thing, just minus a disc. Because this allows you mobility in saying and holding the narrative. Now, you just revealed your hand. So you're in a fixed price range. We all know Sony manufactures the Blu-ray disc. So we all know that Sony is not going to drop them to nothing. It's probably a manufacturing cost is probably like $10, right? So they sell them at a premium, $50, right? So you think that it's going to be $50 cheaper than the actual price. So I believe that the Sony will come in at $499, which is $500, and I believe that the discless one, the digital, all digital, will be $449. All right, I do not believe it's going to be $100 cheaper because they cannot subsidize. They can't subsidize their prices with what Microsoft has. Now, let's get into how Microsoft actually moves. The way they're able to move is they have almost 15 million people. Now, the last count was 10 million, right? That's the last official count that you heard on Game Pass was 10 million, right? But that was an old number because by the time they actually got to that number, it was like 12. Yes. So I figure by July, you have close to 14?
No, I think they got 15 now because in their last financials, they said they doubled.
Oh boy. All right. So listen, let's go with 15, right? 15 million people subsidizing your wallet. That gives you more money in your pocket to take a loss. That actually, so while this situation was going on, this pandemic, all this stuff was going on, they were still actually making money.
They were making money hand over fist.
Hand over fist, because people were buying consoles at a record rate, purchasing games from at home because you had to be at home. So who was benefited the most? Because they had a structure that was in place ready for something like this. Now, you have a console that's launching in the fall. You have the most powerful console launching in the fall against the fastest console, which is to be debatable until they actually have speed tests, right? Okay, so how did the PlayStation win last generation when they didn't have any games on launch and Microsoft had the games on launch? Price.
Yes.
$399. Smacked them right in the face because Microsoft went first.
Yes, they did.
Now, who's going first? Sony this time, right?
Right.
What was smack them in the face, knowing that they can't drop their price down under $400 because they were bleeding money.
Yes.
If they wasn't bleeding money, Spider-Man will come out on PlayStation 4. Look at the tea leaves, people. I'm giving it to you right now. Sip this tea because this tea is hot. Get it right now. I'm telling you, $399 for the Xbox Series X and $200 for the S. When they say $200 and that thing is around this size, it's because the cooling system that is inside is just a chip, it's just the graphics processor and the CPU. There's no moving parts, brother. None. All right, so now you have that cooling thing that is going to be around the size of your controller, right? You know, put to the side. It's going to be a 1080p, 60 frames per second console, 4 teraflops, 4 to 6 teraflops in there. It's actually more powerful than your Xbox One X.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so and then you're gonna say, well, King, my Xbox One X could play 4K 60. Yes, but the majority of the people in the world don't have a 4K television.
Correct.
So who do you think they're trying to sell it to? If you want that 4K business, you want that, get the X, Series X.
Right.
But if you want grandma, you want that, you go into the counter and you know those stuff is stuffed on the side. Oh, let me get one of those. What's that? That's the new console. Let me get that. That's $200. Oh, yeah, let me get that. And it comes with a Game Pass.
John wants one, and so does Mom.
Listen, it's going to be it's going to be like Alexa. It's going to be in everybody's house.
Yes. Speak on it, King.
They are going to win the generation with that Series S. And that's the mic drop moment. That's when Phil walks off the stage. That's when Aurelius is on his name. And then what's going to happen? You think who's going to follow him to $200? No one. I know you're saying, oh, you know, King, man, that's some conspiracy theories, man. Just because you don't want it to happen don't mean it won't. Just like I did not want Sony to say $399, but they did.
Well, listen, I'm going to say this. As much as I want to see you give him the Aurelius name, I think what's going to happen, and we're going to go to Crispy Bomb next on this one, I think he's going to have a pair of tearaway pants. And after he drops his prices, we're going to know him as Phil Kickstand Spencer, is what I'm saying. And I know that I took it to a level that maybe I shouldn't have, but you know what? When you got it big, you got to drop the pipe. Listen, Crispy Bomb, when you hear the potential of you talk about mic drop moments, price is going to be key. Microsoft, we've heard Phil Spencer say that he has the support of Satya Nadella. We've heard him say that they are agile on price, that they are willing to shift, that they feel comfortable and excited about the price. They could do something that Sony couldn't do, and that is literally choke out the competition with price. What do you see? Do you see it? What would the world think of Microsoft if they gave us a $400 and $200 price point?
I mean, let's be honest for a second. The Xbox One X went on sale for $300, and anybody that didn't pick it up and didn't have one, shame on you.
Yes.
Because I literally, like, my girlfriend's like, hey, I want it. Like, I've been playing games on Game Pass with you. Like you know, her son has a PS4. And she's like, oh, he would love a lot of these games. Like, you know, let's see if we can get it done. I literally had to pick up, I think it was originally the 2K19 edition with the it was white with like the speckles, like it looked like somebody just threw paint on it.
Yeah.
Because every other one was sold out. And it was like literally sold out like a day after. And I'm like, holy wow. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And this is on the Microsoft store. So, you know, they have the highest inventory out of anybody.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. And then I go to Amazon and people are already trying to sell it for 400, you know, as a third party or something like that. And I'm like, man, like I wasn't expecting this. And you got to realize with everything that's happened in the world, you have a lot of kids that are home, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a lot of parents that don't have a lot of money, all right? And a lot of people have been, you know, have been having Netflix and HBO. They've basically gotten rid of their cable company.
Yeah.
And they'd rather spend $100 or $200. Like I'm a close to $200 spending on my cable company, okay? So you would rather spend that on your subscriptions that you can, you know, pick and choose what you want to watch. And that's where we're at right now. And then you have what I believe the dude that came from Netflix to Microsoft now?
Yes, that is Jared
Okay.
West. He was actually the head dude during the Xbox 360 marketing blitz that saw them literally steal the show with every announcement. Yeah, so he's back in charge, and he has been in that position since early December, and he's been leading the charge for the Series X reveals and all the marketing that's going to come along with it.
So you think about it this way, okay? Let's say they do the 400, they do the 200. They are willing at this point, because let's say they have 15 million subscribers to Game Pass.
Yes.
If you could double that in a year, you're talking almost $1 billion a month.
Yes.
Now, yes, you're going to take a loss initially, because we all know Netflix, if you've never subscribed, you can get a month free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So mic drop moment would be, okay, Series S is $200. Not only that, we're giving you 3 months free of Game Pass.
We've been hearing a 3-month card in every box for months now.
And that's what I'm saying. You want to put the boot to the throat, because the problem with PlayStation is they haven't clarified what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's where I was disappointed in the event more than anything. You have not clarified for the PlayStation for the people that are invested in that ecosystem, how you're going to move the games forward. Are you going to charge them again? And unfortunately for them, if they go the way I think they're going to go, which is basically going on old news, which is the way they used to do it, and you have a competitor, a direct competitor that is going to do it for you as long as the dev allows it. And that is where you go and say, there's a problem here. And not only that, you have a subscription service that gives you the bangers that Microsoft has, because there are bangers. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but there's a lot. Halo Infinite is a banger. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you could sit here and tell me it's not, and that's fine. You just don't like the game, and that's cool. But you're going to get the quality that you would have gotten no matter what. And it's just like Gears 5. You know what I mean? Like people could say that game's dead. I watched a Gears die, and that was Judgment. I'm sorry. That game after a month was done. Okay, because the multiplayer was done. And that's what Gears is for the most part. It is truly about the multiplayer. And Gears 5 is alive and well. People are pissed about certain things. They're trying to fix it. But now you're going to get an up-resed and higher frames per second without doing anything, without paying a dime. If you have Game Pass, you're getting it. And you're getting it for your $15 subscription with Xbox Live.
Yes.
Microsoft is going a different route. And that's why, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, the Samsung TV thing. They are about your subscription. They see the light. Okay, they know they're going to take a loss. They know it. I mean, you got a guy from Netflix continues to take a loss, and we've seen no shows and them relying on Disney and everything else in the beginning, and now you start like I always look forward to Ozark. I always look forward to Stranger Things.
Yes,
and it took a long time, and they've been continuing to take a loss, but eventually you get to the point where you're just running the train. I mean, you look at Netflix stock; it keeps going up.
Yes, it's crazy.
You know what I mean? So Microsoft is willing to take a loss, and when Phil said the entire Microsoft team, the cloud infrastructure, hardware teams, software teams, everything is behind Xbox, is because he said at the table, he had a legit conversation with Satya. He said, you know what? We could do what we want. We don't have to keep every game as an exclusive. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. We could be, the end all be all and say, we love gaming. We want the consumer to at least feel like they're getting value. And that's where I think Microsoft's at right now.
Well, I mean, first of all, bravo for the bullet points were fantastic, and I agree 1,000%. I want to move this conversation over to Dreadpool, but before I get to you, Dread, I just want to catch up on a few of the super chats before I lose them. Sin Vendetta, once again, my goodness, man, the generosity, I cannot thank you enough. He drops another $10 super chat and says this: If the Series X is $399 and the Lockhart is $199, then just announce the price at the July event, because Sony will not be able to beat that price combo. Phil Spencer just dropped the mic and walk off. Yes, I would agree that he would literally just drop it onto the floor and walk away, and that would be equivalent, in my opinion, to this is how you share games. That's what he needs to do, and I think they're going to do it. So Phonic X Initiative is here. He drops a very generous $5 super chat. Thank you for hanging out, dude. He says filling server racks could potentially give you a huge discount on wafers. Buying tech in bulk for the X and the S and the server racks. Thoughts? And I think that yes, they're investing more than ever, and I think that they're spending a lot more and they're buying more, which of course is then going to lower the price. Thanaros drops an additional $2 super chat and says this: at King, where did the Dominus Maximus come from?
It came from when he saved my console. when he decided from the mess that Don and the team made with the bumbling and the fumbling with my beloved brand. I seen Sega die. I seen TurboGrafx PC Engine die. I've witnessed the death of Atari. I've witnessed ColecoVision. I've witnessed Intellivision.
Saturn, Dreamcast.
I've witnessed them die. So when I seen 3DO gone, and this is the last American bastion that we have in Microsoft, and I'm like, wow, there goes another one. Then Phil steps in. You have a worker that was inside the company that had company pride in his chest, in his heart. And he galvanized the team. He galvanized the fan base, and he pushed through. I always say this, and this is my analogy to Phil. It's like landing in PUBG without a team and a butter knife. And you get that winner chicken dinner. How can you not root for that man? So when everybody else was doubting him, I was looking at his plans. I was looking at the stuff that he was doing. How is the power of the cloud going for you right now? When you got xCloud right now, how's the power of the cloud going for you right now? When you doubt it and you hate it, and he was shaking hands and kissing babies, and he was saying he was too nice. He's not going to be nice in July.
Well, look, I'll say this. There's a reason why I talk very highly of Phil Spencer. He's why the Xbox brand is where it is now. And if you don't feel that he's a confident leader, listen, that's your opinion. For me personally, I agree with King. Not only did he personally save the Xbox brand, his niceness that everyone that has somehow considers that as a crutch, you're wrong. Being a good guy, it pays off in spades, and Phil is a good dude. And you know what? Eventually, I'm going to get a chance to meet and talk with that guy, and I can't wait. But Dreadpool, let's bring you into the conversation. When you hear the financials of, and again, this is we're just talking grain of salt possibility that Microsoft would be willing to eat some of the console costs to logistically potentially win the generation from the minute it starts with a $399 Series X and release a $200 small digital box that's only going to be 4 to 6 teraflops, that's going to run your games at 1080, 60, potentially for $200. That would be something never before done, and I think that could logistically get them in a place from the beginning of this generation that would be roles reversal from 2013 when Sony jumped out to a massive lead because of price and power.
Okay, we've all seen the video where the bully is picking on the victim, and then the victim just snaps and picks him up and body slams his ass.
We have seen that numerous times.
But, okay, we've seen that. You don't think that this is what's going on? You don't think it's the buildup has just been like ongoing, the negativity, all this stuff that they've been sitting there planning all this stuff? Okay, we're talking about a brand new console that's going to be the most powerful console when it's released. Okay, we also have What do we talked about this a while back. The 450 was the price mark, and everybody was like, no, I see 700. Well, 450 seems logical now, right? So, and you know, obviously that's a number that they're playing with. So that's not, you know, a hold stat price. It's just a price that they're looking at and keeping that in mind. Now, we also talked about this, Boom, on the backside a while back too. Remember how I said it could be a Roku box?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So we talked about it being a Roku box that uses what? The xCloud.
Yes.
So the xCloud is going to help out any flaws. There was an IGN interview where Ryan McCaffrey did with Phil, and he asked him, "Was the xCloud going to be able to do all this? Because you're going to be able to download your game, and while you're downloading it, you're going to be playing it." Did you get that last night?
No, I certainly did not.
No.
Mhm.
But you could be playing your game while you're downloading, and you're going to be streaming it and playing it, no problems. And then basically when you shift over, it's like you're playing off your console from the get-go. So
Yeah.
this will be the same thing. There was another interview with what's his name? The guy with the beard, Ronald.
Oh, Jason Ronald.
Yeah.
Ronald, thank you. There was another one with him. And guess what? It's possible. And they even said it. You can also use the xCloud as an app on your Xbox One consoles. That doesn't mean that they're going to do it, but it's possible. And I've said
but it is possible. That
Right.
is correct.
And I've said that for how many years? I talked to Brad Sams about it, and he said, yeah, it's feasible if they want to do it. You know, it's all software. So for them to drop it down to a $200 console, mini console, something like that, and it's going to use the cloud as extra power, if there's any faults to it per se that it can't handle this much power for this type of game. So yeah, you might not have all 12 teraflops, or I'm sorry, not teraflop, but you know what I'm saying. You might not have memory, but you're down to 4 gigs of memory. So, but it's going to be compensated by the xCloud. So wouldn't that be the ultimate mic drop? That xCloud's going to help push all these other smaller consoles, lesser consoles, cheaper consoles that seem, because they're priced cheaper, that they're a cheaper console because they're not worthy of a price because they're not quality. Well, now it seems like they are.
Yeah, no, I mean that those are great points, and as a matter of fact, harking back to what you said about the Roku box, that does bring a lot into the conversation, because Microsoft is they've been planning for this for years, and everything that's been going on for the last 5 years, like you were saying, with the bullying and the name calling and the finger pointing and the laughing and the tweets, I think it's all going to come back to blow up in Sony's face. But you know what? As we close in on the 2-hour mark, I want to get Elusive Gamer's opinion on this, but I just have to catch up on a few of the super chats before I lose them. JD Gamer once again drops an additional $10 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. He says, panel members, if you were Phil and had a choice between one of 3 choices, which would it be? The $4 billion for WB, the $4 billion subsidy for having a $199 Series S, or 3, the 4 major hardware upgrades, i.e. memory, SSD, I/O. I would go with WB because they need content for their Netflix of gaming service in Game Pass, and getting those companies and locking Batman behind the Xbox brand would be unbelievably devastating for Sony, and it would get people to buy their console. Now, whether that be the $200 or the $400 console, it wouldn't matter, because Microsoft doesn't care. As long as you're paying $15 a month and you're part of the potential 30 million people that could have this by the end of next year, they don't care, because $30 million times $15 a month, you do the math, it's ridiculous. Scrub Nurse drops another $10 super chat. Thank you for being here. And of course, your generosity, my brother. He says, Gladiator, my name is Maximus Decimus Merciless, commander of the armies of the North, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance. This is in his life or the next.
Gladiator, one of the best
You
movies
speak
ever.
them bars, man. Speak them bars.
I love it. Cedric H, a very good friend of the show, he drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, listening to the show and playing Need for Speed Heat, grinding to crew level 50. Well, listen, dude, I'm glad that you're
Wow.
gaming and, of course, enjoying it, but checking out the show. And, of course, thank you for your generosity. But Elusive Gamer, Jamie Moran, you again have talked about this on your channel, and I want to know what your thoughts on the rumor from a very credible inside source that has been confirmed to have an inside track to Microsoft's doings, if you will. Do you think they pull off the showstopper and announce a $400 X and a $200 S?
If you'd asked me this question a year ago, I would give you a different answer. But considering how bold Microsoft have been for the past, I don't know, 7 months, I can believe it, because if you go back to the beginning of this generation, the lowest common denominator, the Xbox One, cost more. This coming generation, the lowest common denominator is the PlayStation 5. That's a fact. That could cost more. I mean, look at it. Look at the size of it. It's the size of a house. The plastic must cost that much.
Yes.
The thing is about Microsoft is that if you look at the Xbox One S and the One X, like the way it's engineered is perfection. Like they fit all that into a small box. So you can think, like, how are they really going to get 12 teraflops of ray tracing power into this small box for $400? It sounds a bit outlandish, but I think it's realistic, because
They did it. Yeah.
they've done it in the past. They can do it again. And Satya Nadella clearly is backing Phil Spencer, and Phil Spencer's all in on next gen. Remember back in 2015 and 16, people were like, okay, Microsoft's done with this generation. And you know what? You could argue for that, but Phil Spencer, he's clearly all in. And he's been with the company for 30 years. He clearly wants the place to succeed. And if anyone says Don Matrick did better, they just
You're wrong. You're wrong. Yes, I agree.
but I think they could do it, because think about it, like Amazon is wanting to build up their gaming empire. Well, if they ever have one, Google's starting out, and this would be a good way to do that, because if you get a $200 box out there that could even still play Red Dead Redemption in 4K, people are going to buy it. I go on Reset Era and I see people that would literally, who are diehard PlayStation fans, who said they would buy a $200 Xbox Series S, and that's just the reality of the situation. Xbox is it's a smaller brand than PlayStation, but it hasn't been around as long. But if you put a box out there, a next gen box at $200, even though it's weaker, people are going to go out and buy it, because, as King was saying before, the majority of people right now have 1080p TVs, and well, with this small box, he's still going to get maybe some ray tracing stuff out of this. And yeah, I can see it being real, because Microsoft have to be aggressive going into the next generation, and they've been proven that they are going aggressive. I mean, they announced a console at the Game Awards, like, Jeff Keighley's territory, So yeah, I can believe it, because they're doing outlandish things and new things, and this would line up with that.
Well, I will say this. We already have somewhat confirmation that the Series S is going to be more powerful than the Xbox One X. You drop that at $200, it is going to fly off the shelf. And for the holiday, remember, Sony just started making PlayStation 5, from what we understand. We've heard as early as the beginning of April, Microsoft was manufacturing the Series X and, of course, probably the S at that time. They're going to have double, potentially triple the amount of consoles available. And I can guarantee you that you'll have a 3-to-1 ratio of those $200 boxes, because they want people to get into the ecosystem, and they want that to fly off the shelf during the holiday. But I'm going to say this. This has been one heck of a show. And I want to thank 510 people that tuned in for this Friday morning breakfast with Boom. I want to just thank once again Echelon 7 The Dark for an additional $5 super chat. He says this: the idea that the initiative only working on one game is hilarious. Phil's going to drop the mother of all showcases. July 2020 is Xbox's D-Day, or in parentheses X Day. Yes, I've been banging that drum. They're working on 3 projects. The team is too big to be working on one project. But let's get into the outros. And I just want to say this. I want to thank everybody that tuned in, really from the bottom of my heart. You are powering this small channel to nearly 5,000 subs, which hopefully by the end of the summer I had me hitting that number in 2021, and the show has grown exponentially, and that is thanks to you fine folks. And of course, I have to say this: the amount of generosity that has been focused on my channel is just not to be believed. It really is as humbling and life-changing. You don't even understand how grateful I am for the generosity that you continue to show Double Barrel Gaming. But let's get into, of course, the outros, and we'll start with Your Highness, the King. Obviously, you guys have a big show coming up Sunday. I know that you're going to be going like this with your fists like an evil genius, because you are going to be lining up to give Cog the topic you're going to talk about. But of course, you also have the King of Statues. You also have lordsofgaming.net. You also have your presence on social media that on a regular basis, you shut MFs down on a regular basis. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out the outstanding YouTube channel known as the Iron Lord's Realm.
Thank you so much, Boom. Thank you, esteemed panel. It was great, talking games with you guys today. It's always fun showing up with Boom in the morning. You can find me at lordsofgaming.net. Also, Iron Lords Podcast, Sunday at 1 p.m., where you can see KOS, King of the Statues. Today, I just dropped Captain America Winter Soldier. It's a great story. Check that out on YouTube. Go to lordsofgaming.net. Check it out there. And also check out old episodes of KOS. Also do Combat Talk with the King, but fighting is not happening right now, so there's no combat going on. You can catch me at Twitter at King David OTW, on Xbox with the same name, and on PlayStation Network, that's Xbox 360 Lover 01. That is not a troll. Please add me. I don't have any friends over there. I'm looking for guys to join me there.
Well, thanks for being here, dude. Always great to have you a part of the panel. And of course, love the banter and the connection that we all have working together. And next up, you know him as someone that recently joined the Breakfast with Boom panel. And I think he's not only a fine community member, he's an outstanding gamer through and through. He's a part of a podcast known as the Retro Renegades. He does that weekly with a very good friend of the community. As we know him as Jay, but you know him as Graphic God. Crispy Bomb, thanks so much for being here. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can get cut in half by you through a chainsaw. And also, more importantly, check out Retro Renegades and also follow you on social media.
Well, I just want to say shout out to the 500 gamers that came out this morning. Awesome. That this panel, give everybody a follow, man. Like these guys are genuine, awesome people. I have interacted with them time and time again, and it continues to be just an amazing experience every time. But tomorrow night, you got next podcast, 7 p.m., and then Retro Renegades on Tuesday, 7 p.m., and just, come support. I mean, I try to join as many podcasts as I can, and I try to see other people's point of view, because in the end, I am not always right. and it is always just my opinion.
Well, listen, dude, obviously we definitely appreciate you being a part of not only the community, because you are very vocal, you interact with the community on a regular basis, but of course, what you bring to the shows that you're on. The next podcast, you have something special that you bring. Retro Renegades, you bring something special there. And of course, you being a part of Breakfast with Boom is not only an honor for me, but it is a pleasure to work with you each and every week. And I'm really glad that you have joined the fray. But next up, again, I call him Superman, but you can call him Mr. Dreadpool. He's a community, one of the community's absolute finest, and he has again bailed out this show more times than I can count. Having him on today's show with his very stout knowledge when it comes to gaming has been a treat. Do me a favor, Dreadpool, tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your YouTube channel.
Well, thank you, Boom. I'd like to thank everybody, the panel, the chat, you all. It's always an honor to be here and hang out with you guys, talking about games and everything with our opinions and all the facts that we run across. Now, that being said, you got to remember, opinions can change.
Yes.
So as new facts come out, you can't be held liable to something that was said 5 years ago when we didn't know certain things. Okay. So you got to keep that in check, So yes, we might have said something, but at the same time, we didn't know everything. So now that as more and more we're knowing stuff, this is the exciting time. We're getting more information. So as always, you can find me on Twitter as Dreadpool, and the O's are actually zeros. YouTube, Mixer, my gamer tag, and my Stadia tag, Dreadpool, all letters, all caps.
Well, listen, again, dude, yes, you do have Stadia. A lot of people do.
No, I'm waiting for something to drop in there, and then I'm going to use my 1 month free. I'll join you.
They're getting Baldur's Gate.
There you go.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, I believe. Yeah.
Here we go.
It's going to be an exclusive.
You know where I'll be.
Well, listen, Dreadpool, thanks again for joining today's show. It was great to talk with you as usual. And last and no way least, you know him as potentially being a sarcastic Brit, but I know him as one of the community's absolute finest. Jamie Moran, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us all the way from the other side of the pond. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can check out your no-nonsense, outstanding YouTube channel, but more importantly, follow you on Twitter.
Thanks, Boom. I mean, it's always a pleasure, and today's panel's been absolutely awesome, and it's awesome every time, really. But yeah, my YouTube's The Elusive Game. I have a big video Xbox related coming out tomorrow, and my channel, I talk strictly about Xbox. I don't bash other consoles. That's my thing. But yeah, so that'll be out tomorrow on The Elusive Gamer, and my Twitter is Jamie Moran UK.
Well, again, that's why I call your channel to be the No Nonsense YouTube channel. If you want honest content, if you want facts, if you want opinions that don't come with bias attached to them, I definitely say check out not only Jamie Moran, but check out everyone on this panel. And as we close out today's outstanding show, 2 last super chats to talk about. Scrub Nurse shows his generosity once again. He says, "Happy Juneteenth to the panel and chat." Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for mentioning that. And Drunken Ninja shows his generosity once again with another $2 super chat and says, "Great to see your channel grow, Boom. Keep it up." Well, thank you for the kind words. And listen, I won't make this long because I know everybody wants to get out there. It's almost, it's past noon already. Go get your sandwich, go get your hoagie, go hang out with your family, play some games. But I want to close out the show with something that's important to me because my dad, who is my hero, taught this to me when I was a kid. It made me a better human. It made me a better police officer, and it makes me a better community member. Treat others how you want to be treated. And also, folks, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you are going to have an awesome day. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.